You're listening to Intentionally Catholic, a podcast about living our Catholic faith with joy and intention.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening. This is Dan Hansen, and I wanted to make a quick clarification before I get to the show to let you know that this particular episode was recorded on October 25. Why does that matter? Why is he telling us this? Well, you'll probably figure it out as we go. Enjoy. The holidays are fast approaching, and with them, family gatherings. Now, most of the time, these are fun. Memorable events where we connect with people that we care deeply about. Times where we reminisce and we laugh and we, really just enjoy each other's company. But we all know deep down that when you throw a broad group of people together, there can be issues. Maybe there are differences, in religious understandings throughout your family, your extended family. Maybe politics will rear its head at your family gathering. We'll have just concluded a divisive election by Thanksgiving after all. So think about that. Maybe it's just that one person who knows more than everybody else does and really enjoys demonstrating that. Pretty much whatever the case, family gatherings around the holidays, they can be tons of fun, but they can also be very stressful. And let's talk today about a way through, about a battle plan without the battle part of it. A survival guide. Let's say it that way. Let's make it a Catholic survival guide. This is Intentionally Catholic. I'm Dan Hansen, and as always, I'm joined by Father Ron Hutchinson. And
Good
Father,
morning.
let's just jump right in. How can we navigate the family gatherings this season and emerge, without feeling like we need to run to confession immediately afterward?
Yeah, that's always the problem, isn't it? How not to turn into the very person that you said you didn't want to be. I think that one of the key pieces in my mind is to just talk about subject matters that are about memories and family, family things, meaning like stories from the past and all that kind of stuff. I think that it's better to stay there. I think it's better to, just kind of catch up and ask questions, so, what have the kids been up to and that kind of thing. I think ultimately the hard part of this is life being life. We somehow always get to the subjects we shouldn't talk about. Something will come up, something will get said, especially when people have different views on, what life, life in general. So I think that really, to be honest with you, the key piece of it is to keep it light. And the way you keep it light is maybe to keep yourselves occupied. So I'm going to suggest, even beyond conversation, why not play games? Or why not have, make up a game of your own by putting on cards, my favorite memory from Christmases past.
My favorite political character from the previous election and why.
That would not be the one I would suggest.
Okay.
Things like questions like that. My favorite food from the holidays. What's, one gift that I always remember. I just think that if we can get people talking about the things that really matter, meaning their memories, their shared values, then in reality, it's going to be better, to be quite honest with you. Want to sing Christmas carols or, I've seen recently buying a great big sheet of brown paper and making that the tablecloth, and in front of each person, you have a set of 3 questions that they fill out, and then you go around the table during dinner. And my favorite food from the holidays, what I'm thankful for this year, for Thanksgiving, things like that. I think we don't do enough of that kind of stuff as families. And then that's why we get caught into places that we don't want to go.
Yeah, I really think you're onto something with the shared memories. Those are places that are easy to bring up a conversation, to get a conversation moving, to get, whether it's a game, that leads to the conversation or whatever, just the idea of going in with, all right, I know, for example, my family, I can go and I can ask mom anything about grandma and grandpa, when they were growing up, and that can start a conversation that lasts forever. I don't even know how I ended up with one not too long ago, but mom ends up dropping this story about a pet raccoon that they had raised. And, I never heard that story, but it took us about 20 minutes to get through, and it was great. And there was no charged conversation in any of that. It was just all light, and she's just having fun remembering, and we're having fun. That's the other side of it. It's not just, we avoided, and not that I was having an argument with mom at that situation. It was just a conversation. But you don't want to leave these necessarily thinking, wow, we narrowly scraped by. You can leave a conversation with, wow, there is so much I didn't realize. And, that's the beauty of it. That's the fun of it. So I think going with, like you're saying, but going maybe with some ideas in mind about some areas that you'd like to ask questions, dig deeper.
I think the problem is we don't talk about that family stuff. And then later on we say, I wish I had asked more questions. I wish I had, asked about, grandma, great grandma and great grandpa, those kinds of things, because I know even for myself, I'm kind of engaged in on and off ancestry.com, building up a family tree. And there are times when I'm sitting looking at it and I will say to myself, I wish I had asked more questions of my grandparents when they were living. And now it's too late. I mean, they're gone. And there are just things when I'm sitting looking at this family tree going, gosh, if I had just asked, I'm sure I would understand more about these people. I would maybe even have names that I, don't have and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, it's just, I think we don't talk about our family history enough. So family history is always a great place to jump off. Okay. I do think that families need to learn to have fun together. Mm-hmm. And we've, granted, I would say, maybe like the royal family, you can't play Monopoly together, but, they're not allowed to play Monopoly because they get so upset, I guess. That's what I've read. But my family, Monopoly is not a good one either, but there are games like Uno or whatever, Skip-Bo, you name it. Card games. I remember as a kid learning to play cribbage because the adults were playing cribbage and I wanted to learn, that's how I learned to play euchre. Sure. I just think that we don't do enough of that kind of stuff that then ends up just being fun. Okay. I remember as a kid, and I kind of am upset now we don't do it. We used to, because my grandmother played, my grandmother on my mom's side, and also some other cousins on my mom's side, played piano. We would all gather around the piano and sing Christmas carols. And it was just fun. We just, we goofed off. And I just think that that's the stuff that I look back now and say, boy, why is it when we get together now, we can't seem to come up with things like that to do,
Do you have an answer to that?
I think it takes somebody to organize the fun a little bit. Somebody has to decide they are the master of fun that day. That they're going to keep their family engaged and enjoying the day. I think if we just leave it to chance, it's not going to happen most of the time. And most of the time, that means people are going to sit around. They're going to have a couple cocktails, and their tongues are going to get loose, and then they're going to regret the things they say, or you're going to end up talking about the world. There's nothing worse than talking about the world at the holidays, because right now there's not much going on that would make you excited to talk about it. Let's be honest, it's just, we always end up talking about how expensive everything is and how bad everything is. And we just get into it, and then it goes downhill fast. Very fast. Yeah, where if you're playing a game, if you're reminiscing about relatives of the past, pulling out photo albums. Oh, that's another great one.
That's really practical.
You pull out the photo album, and you don't focus on like modern photo album. I'm talking like finding pictures from way past and just, laughing about the outfits and, just the crazy hairdos and all sorts of stuff, it's just funny. I've come across more pictures that we as a family go, well, because we've collected them now from relatives that have passed away. And some of them I haven't even looked through, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that grandma smoked, that kind of thing, It's just hilarious, I mean, there's some of the pictures are just hilarious. So
I would recommend that you give that box that you're going to look through just a quick perusal. I did this little experiment that you're talking about right now. I did that on a first, second, third date. I thought that'd be so funny, so fun. We're sitting at the table. My family was there. I pull out the box. We grab a handful of pictures. Third picture is me. I'm probably 2. I'm standing in the tub wearing only my socks, and all the water is full of all my toys that I have dragged into there. So there we sit in this horrible, awkward silence. And I realized, this probably could have been, I could have looked through this box ahead of time. And
I could have avoided this embarrassment.
So yeah, check that out. But I think that's great. There's so many fun things because, we've done that, not just in that one horrible experience that scarred me, but in other ones. And like you're saying, you're looking at people and who is this? And that's grandma. You got to be kidding me. This is grandma when she was a little kid. Oh my gosh, how fun is that? And you're completely lost. Nobody's thinking about, all the stuff going on out there. We're focused on, looking at family and memories. And, that's really what these are all about anyway. These get-togethers, these gatherings, we're gathering for a reason. We apparently like these people. Let's focus on some of these shared memories that we've got that really drill home the point that we get along and we like each other.
Exactly. And, I don't think it's rocket science, to be quite honest with you. We make it harder than it has to be.
What, surviving these
surviving
get-togethers?
them. Yeah. And we make it seem it's so hard to just have fun together. And it's not a hard thing. We just have to have a few little props to get things started, so to speak. So
I agree with that. I do think that you do have to have the wild card is that people are people. And I can go wanting to have fun, but that doesn't mean Uncle Bob wants to have fun. Maybe Uncle Bob's got an axe to grind.
Yeah.
And that's where you things can get off the rails. But that's where you need to just, I think, one of my things is just I'm going to adopt a do not engage policy. I know the people in my family. I know the items that might come up. I know which ones might make me a little angry, a little hot. I'm not always this fun and carefree. Sometimes I get into it. And I know what's going to get me going. And I can just decide, when that happens, when Uncle Bob brings that up, I don't have to say anything. I can just be quiet.
Let it go. Just let things go. I mean, I think, maybe it is important to decide before we go, like, I am not going to engage in things that are just going to cause problems. We have to say, I am going to take responsibility for me, not the other person. I'm not going to look at them and say, how dare you bring that up? It's like, how dare I respond? Because I can choose not to respond. And you know what? At this point, whether it be about the election, whether it be about social issues, whatever it may be, nothing we're going to hear or say is new. So let it go. Let it go. No, nothing's going to be solved,
I think that's one of the biggest points to take home. It's changed how I approach social media. Because I don't know how many years ago, but it dawned on me, it takes me a while to get to these things, but what you just said dawned on me. Nothing I say here is even being heard.
No.
And am I listening to anybody else? No, I'm not listening to their point. I'm listening to their point to the point where it makes me mad. And now I'm engaging, but nothing is going to be changed. I am not changing anybody's opinion at this point. So all I'm going to be doing at these get-togethers, if I engage, is just engaging in this conversation that's going to be ratcheting and getting hotter and hotter.
Exactly.
Potentially.
Exactly.
I might as well just be quiet because I always go home if I get involved. And I can't think of many issues where this has happened. Our families are pretty laid back. But, you'll go home and I do know the feeling of, if I'd have just shut up, I wouldn't have all of this guilt on me. I wouldn't have felt like, wow, I really messed up. I dropped the ball. I didn't demonstrate my faith the way I wanted to. I'm so busy, for me sometimes, I can't think of a specific instance at a Thanksgiving or a Christmas event, but I can think of other ones where religion has been an issue. My family entire family is Protestant, and they don't like what I've done for the most part. We're kind of entering this. I don't think it's a Cold War. I think it's kind of a lukewarm, like they'll accept me. They accept it now. It's not quite as bad as it was. But, so I would feel like they brought up something about the faith, and I'm going to defend it because I'm going to be good here. I'm going to be a good Catholic. And by the end of the day, I'm thinking, wow, I completely undercut my entire argument because I'm arguing with people. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I would have been so much better off to just keep my mouth shut.
I think we forget that the vast majority of evangelization is by example and not words. Often this quote is attributed to St. Francis of Assisi, and nobody knows for sure. It's, and in fact, who it even is attributed to. But, preach at all times and sometimes use words. I think we forget that we preach more often by our lives. And so if we're being obnoxious and mean-spirited and, just arguing for the sake of arguing, what kind of example, what kind of evangelization are we actually doing? So maybe the better example of evangelization would be to let it go, forgive, be quiet. Isn't holding our tongue, more valor, filled with more valor than responding, So
well, I know it's a lot harder. That's for sure.
It's definitely is harder, there are the days I, like anybody else, wish I had a zipper on my mouth and, I could just, zipper it and put a lock on it and be done with it, like a luggage lock, and, only TSA could take it off.
Some of us wish that for you too.
But it doesn't, I have had holidays even with my own family who we're all Catholic and we can't even agree on everything. So, there have been a couple that I can think of where I've regretted. I've gone home and been like, oh gosh, boy, I didn't show myself in a good light that today. So
do you make the rounds with phone calls then?
What?
Mea culpa.
To be honest with you, I probably should have. I don't think I did at that time.
Well, your penance for today. No, I can't.
Please don't make me. It was just, and it was around an election time again, last time that I can think this happening. And, it's awful. It's just awful. And this will be post-election, so we'll be living in the day after,
Somebody's going to be gloating and somebody's going to be really mad.
Yeah. Although my response, I just read the other day that somebody said, on November 6th, the world will go on. We'll still be here, and we'll still be going to the grocery store, and we're still going to have to cook food, and we're still going to be living in the same world in respects. It really doesn't matter as much as we sometimes make it seem like it matters.
Well, I think it's like you said earlier, the things that matter. We talk about family. That's really at the core of what really matters. We've all heard the little saying, there's somebody who's on their deathbed, the last thing they're not saying, wish I'd worked longer, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd voted more. None of those things I wish I'd spent more time, with the people that matter the most. And that's what we've got an opportunity to do here. And we can't let these other things, big as they are, because the politics stuff, that is big. All of that does play out. That's all important stuff. Religion's important stuff. You can't have these fights then you alienate people over these issues.
You get like my family, where now we all live so far away from one another and have our own families. My sisters each have their own families now. We don't get together like we used to. And so, it's interesting because I work on the holidays. And so it's often very hard for me to Christmas. I'm exhausted by the time Christmas Day rolls around. So my family doesn't get together on Christmas. I stay home, sit in my chair, watch A Christmas Carol, and have a glass of eggnog and collapse. And we get together later and we'll do something. But even then, we don't always all get together anymore. And so
Right.
it's very rare. And so I miss the good old days when I was a kid and I was being dragged in the car to grandma's once again. You know, we had to do Christmas Eve at one family and Christmas Day at another family. And, you know, it was always chaotic and crazy. But now I look at it and I kind of miss it, you know.
Yeah.
But life goes on, and you have to kind of figure out how to be part of whatever, you know, the
So you sat
opportunities
and
that come
watched
along.
You watched A Christmas Carol?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's my tradition every year.
Well, which
on
one?
Christmas Day, I really like the musical one.
The Albert Finney?
Yes.
That one is brilliant.
It's one of my favorites.
People don't like that one like they should. We have watched that since we've been little. Well, I'm always
I have
little,
to admit that I have every single version that you can imagine on DVD, and then I now have them all saved on Netflix and etc.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge Christmas Carol-aholic during the season, so I watch them all. The only one I don't like is the Muppets one.
I don't care for the Muppets one. We love the Patrick Stewart one's good. The George C. Scott one's good. Yeah, we do the same thing. That's our go-to movie. That's what.
Yeah, it's just for me. That's part of what it's how I celebrate the holiday. You know, and people often say, "Oh, Father, I feel so bad for you. You're alone." Well, you know what? I've just worked 2 solid days. You know, I've said more masses than anybody, you know, gets to go to. You know, they all go to one. I'm at all of them, and I'm exhausted. I truly am. I mean, I used to try to drive up and spend the holiday with my mom and dad, even if it was just me. And, you know, when I fall asleep on 131 heading north, that's just not a good thing.
Anybody.
You know, that's not a good thing. And so I started deciding it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I would rather call them and call my sisters and say hello and, you know, wish everybody Merry Christmas, but just, you know, sit in my PJs and with a blanket around my lap. And
are they all together? They're getting together and you kind of call the group?
No, it's very interesting.
Each
of my sisters gets together with their separate families. And I feel bad now because my mom is by herself. So that's what's hard for me. I struggle now with maybe I should go up. But at the same point in time, like me dying on the way up in a car accident isn't going to be like, you know, a great Christmas. So
probably not. Not.
So I feel that phone calls have to sort of take the place of being there a little bit, you know. So and then we get together after the holidays. We just do it.
See, there's where you can have
we do it on a
different.
We do it on a different day. You know, we just do it differently. So it's the reality of being a priest on Christmas.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I didn't think about all of that. But it at least gives you the opportunity because you can hang up a phone call if you start to get crazy political.
You know what?
You could FaceTime the group and start a political conversation and then
walk away.
Bail on that.
You know, I look at it this way. You know, it's about the phone conversation doesn't have to be long. It just has to be sincere, and then one can go back to watching A Christmas Carol.
Yeah. So I like all these ideas. Your main thing is just focus on family, focus on shared memories, maybe have some fun, play some games. You threw out a bunch of old school games. There's a lot of stuff out there that's a lot of fun. That's beyond even those things. Just hit a game store up. We've got a great one in Zealand. You can find them all over the place, but they'll have all kinds of specialty stuff. And the people who run those stores, they know their stuff back and forth. And you tell them kind of what you're looking for. Got a big group. Here's what we're doing. They will steer you towards some stuff and tell you how it will work. And that can really, really help. I know we've done a fair amount of that. And it can be chaotic. We've got a lot of kids. You know, I've got 5 kids. My sister's got 6, 7. Can't remember. You know, so now the kids are starting to get older. So at least there's a little more calm. There can be some conversations. You know, years back, it was just chaos. Then we went to sports. Sports can definitely fill that gap. You know, we're out chucking a football around or doing something.
Yeah.
But find those things and do that. And I think the big thing is go with a do not engage mentality. Like we said, it's not worth it. You're not going to convince anybody of anything. And you're not necessarily even making a great case for, being a witness for whatever case you're trying to be a witness for, whether it's your faith or your political party or anything. When you're in an argument with people who aren't even listening anyway, not going to help.
Exactly.
Last thing I would say is just really go and try to, as best you can, because you can't shut down conversations. You don't have to engage, but you can listen calmly. You can keep your, just sit there and listen. Try to respond calmly. Offer it up, right? I mean, if you know it's going to be ugly, offer it up.
Just don't engage.
Yeah. All right. I think that's plenty. Those are some of our ideas to help you navigate the holidays and family gatherings peacefully, happily, all those things that matter. What about you guys out there listening? Do you have other tactics, other battle plans, strategies that work well? If you have something, share it with the rest of the audience. Let us know. You can reach us at comments@iCatholic.show. And as we wrap this one up, I'd like to encourage everybody out there to share the show with your friends, subscribe to the podcast, and also you can find us on TikTok and YouTube as well. I don't even know if you know that, Father.
I didn't. Wow.
Yeah, you can find us. Just started doing some of that. You can find us there. Check those things out. For Intentionally Catholic, I'm Dan Hansen.
I'm Father Ron Hutchinson. God bless.
Thanks for listening to Intentionally Catholic. If you like what you heard, please consider sharing our show with a friend. If you have comments, questions, or topics you'd like to hear discussed, please email those to comments@icatholic.show. And be sure to tune in next time for another episode.